Back at it here on the Kaufman Corner podcast, where we are looking back this week at what we got right, what we got wrong, predicting the 2025 season of the Kansas City Royals. You know, we do these predictions and some bold and daring predictions, also picking all the awards. We do it every year, and we're really, really good at it some of the time. We'll find out how we did this time right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro. Rany is a co-founder of Baseball Prospectus, author of Rany on the Royals, and a former columnist for Grantland, The Ringer, and The Athletic. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. And now, here are your hosts, Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it as we begin here with our predictions. And let's be upfront, shall we, Rany? We're on tape today. Everybody always asks, are they on tape? We're on tape today because you're traveling.
I'm traveling.
You're abroad. Actually, you're to the north, correct?
I'm in the Great White North as this is being aired. Yes.
Yeah,
correct.
I like it. So just so everyone knows, we appreciate everybody joining us here. But we went to the tape, and we're taping, on the final day of the season. But everything's pretty much there. So if we quote a stat and we're off by one, get off our backs. Right? That's what we're saying. So just so you know, up front. But we do our predictions, player of the year, pitcher of the year, breakout player, breakout pitcher, biggest disappointment, all kinds of different things that we've got. And then we've got bold and daring predictions and our predictions on the record. And so we will now scan through those and see how we did. And Rany, let's start with the player of the year. Did we get it right with Bobby Witt Jr.?
I think we need to retire this either the award or the player. And next year, we just need to have player of the year, non-Bobby Witt Jr. edition.
Well, we have that. We have best position player, not Bobby Witt Jr. Further down. So
right. But I feel like at this point, this is like asking this question with the Royals in 1980, or 1983, or I guess 1987, a long stretch there with George Brett. But yes, we got this right. The amazing thing, and I do think it's very easy to take what Bobby Witt is doing for granted, is that the question is no longer from year to year, is Bobby Witt Jr. the best player on the Kansas City Royals? It is Bobby Witt Jr. the best player in baseball, right? And he's not winning the MVP award this year, but he very well may finish in the top 3 for the second consecutive year. He almost certainly will finish in the top 5. And we can certainly make a case if you were to start a franchise today with any player in Major League Baseball. Let's say you have him for the rest of his career, so you're taking into account age and talent, et cetera, et cetera. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is the number 1 overall pick. Maybe Aaron Judge is better right now. Maybe Shohei Ohtani is better right now. But Bobby Witt just turned 25, and those guys are in their 30s. The best player in baseball, like not in an MVP sense, in just a holistic, who is the best player in baseball right now, plays for the Kansas City Royals. He's under contract for the next 5 years. That is an amazing thing to celebrate. That makes this award pretty boring because we both got it right 100%, and there was absolutely no intellect whatsoever involved in making that choice. But it makes the Kansas City Royals, it gives them a head start on basically every other team in the sport. They got the best player.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I do want to say something. I mean, I think there could be an argument made for Vinny Pasquantino. I think you could say he had a heck of a year. I mean, statistically speaking, OPS wise, WAR wise, it's Bobby. But I mean, I think it at least is notable that they have, they had two other players hit 30 home runs, and we're still giving this to Bobby Witt. I mean, that is on a organizational standpoint, that's pretty impressive.
It is. It's also a testament to like the broad skill base that Bobby has, in the sense that, yeah, there are two guys who hit 30 home runs on this team, but not just he's the better player. He's the better hitter. Like, he had the better highest OPS on the team. All right. Like, he had the highest slugging average, right? He had a higher slugging average than the two guys who hit 30 home runs because he had a higher batting average. He led the league in doubles. Like, he's, let's put it this way. Two players in, he's had 10 players in Royals history have had 75 extra base hits in a season. It's happened 10 times. It's actually only happened, I think 8 players have done it. It's happened 10 times. 2 of them are Bobby Witt in 2024 and 2025. He set the all-time franchise record for extra base hits last year, and he got to 75 this year with 1 game left to go here. Or we're taping this on the Sunday before the game. And he's a shortstop, right? Like, he could be a DH this year, and you would still make a very compelling case he was the best player on the team.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think anybody's arguing the point. The pitcher of the year, though, is a little trickier. We both went with Cole Reagans. He doesn't win the award.
No, he does not. Although he did have the best, the best FIP of any starter on the team. Like, Ray, an abomination.
I don't think anybody's calling us morons for making that pick. Injuries do happen. I think if you picked anybody but Cole Reagans, you were simply saying, and this would have been a fair thing to do, that Cole Reagans will get hurt with his electric stuff and his injury history. Right. That you wouldn't have been if you played along at home, and we asked anybody who wanted to write down their awards. If you played along at home and you went with somebody else because you thought he was going to get hurt, I mean, you ended up being right. But, at the end of the day, I mean, Michael Wacha, had the most innings? Who is it?
I mean,
Carlos Estevez?
Well, we'll get to this a little bit later, but like, do you know who actually led the team in wins above replacement?
I can look real quick.
You could.
As far from a pitching standpoint, Noah Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Noah Cameron. Noah Cameron being the guy.
I mean, that's you had him winning a different award, and which you were right about, but like, he went beyond just being like, rookie of the year. He was arguably the best pitcher start to finish, which is, as much an example of how difficult it was for any Royal starting pitcher to finish the season, completely healthy. Michael Wacha managed to stay in the rotation for 31 starts. No one else got more than 26. But it's also a testament to just how great Noah Cameron was. And yeah, there was some luck involved there. His ERA is a lot better than his FIP, but he was great. But anybody predicting Noah Cameron was going to be the Royals' best pitcher before the season, I would be, testing their psychic and clairvoyant skills now. Like, there's no way anybody makes that prediction rationally.
It was barreling towards being Chris Bubich. It should be pointed out.
It was.
Right? But again, injuries are a big part of the problem, and that was the problem there for Bubich. So he is not going to be the one that ends up getting that. All right, so breakout player.
Yeah, we can skip this one.
You want to skip? We both had Michael Massey.
No, we both in agreement. So there's not going to be a trash talking here. We're both equally wrong on this one. Look, it's we can laugh about it now, but if you want to pinpoint not just an organization-wide cause, but a single player who might be most
poster child for.
Yeah, I don't want to say I don't want to blame him, but I'm just saying if there's one player where not only were we wrong about the player, but essentially was the reason why we were wrong about our prediction for the team, right? 88 wins and a playoff spot. Michael Massey being below replacement level and being, one of the worst hitters in baseball before he got hurt. He's quietly actually hit pretty well since coming back from injury in late August. But I mean, he's been terrible. I mean, he's hitting 339 in 63 plate appearances since he came back, which probably just enough to say, well, maybe we'll give it another spin with him next year. There was a reason why we picked him, because like he had been steadily improving throughout his major league career. He was still young, he played the season. This was his age 27 season where a lot of guys peak, and he's a good defensive second baseman. Like, we had reason to think if he took one more step forward, he was going to be a guy who hits 260 with 25 home runs and above average defense at second base. One of those guys who basically he was going to be what Maikel Garcia ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
If
well, that was my next question. Who would be the guy that won this award? It would be Maikel Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear. I mean, something good. There was a breakout player, not just for the Royals, but like one of the 10 biggest breakouts in all of baseball, I would say. When it occurred, it just wasn't Michael Massey. And frankly, given that Maikel Garcia is younger and under club control, I think a little bit longer. I mean, if you could pick which one you would have a breakout from, it would be Garcia. It's just a shame that Massey's inability to stay healthy is really kind of interfering now, I think, with his ability, his development as a major league player.
Breakout pitcher Kris Bubic, we both went with, and I think we hit that. He got hurt, but you could say Noah Cameron, but we were kind of thinking of guys that were already on the team, and so I think Kris Bubic was the guy for that, and hopefully he's healthy, and we'll continue that. Or they're going to take a look at him and be like, we need to put him back as a weapon out of the bullpen because we don't know they can hold up. Either way, that's going to be part of the conversation we have this offseason and that they have as an organization. Biggest disappointment, you went Hunter Renfroe, which to me was like the lowest of low-hanging fruit. And
he went into the season as a starting outfielder. Like, I mean, you might say it's low-hanging fruit. The Royals could not pluck it. They were trying, but they just could not pluck that. It took them a few weeks to realize, he's a disappointment.
This is my second epic fail. I had Carlos Estevez. I really did not like the idea. I thought, the Urseg in front of him, I didn't like how they were going to use it, although that ended up being effective. But definitely got it wrong on Carlos Estevez. He was outstanding. I
mean, just because he's the first Royals player in 42 years to lead the major leagues in saves outright. I mean, I don't know how you can call that a failure. So not that saves are, the end all and be all. In fact, quite the opposite. I would argue one of the reasons why he did lead the league in saves is simply because very few teams now put one guy in that role exclusively. The ninth inning is just another inning to a lot of teams, including, I think, the Royals. I mean, we saw what they did last year. It just so happened that Estevez taking over the ninth inning role allowed them the freedom to do some other things with the seventh and eighth inning and use, the goal was to use Ursig in that eighth inning role when he wasn't available. They had to mix and match a little bit with guys like John Schreiber and Taylor Clark at times. But what I think I'm most surprised by is not just, Estevez pitched well. He pitched probably a little better than I expected. But what it did for the rest of the bullpen and how Matt Quatraro was able to get effective performances from the guys who were pitching in front of Estevez, that's, I think, almost more surprising to me than how he pitched. I mean, I know you were very worried about Lucas Ursig, pitching in a role where he didn't know going into a game when he was coming in, and there was going to have to be a lot more flexibility with him that might adversely affect him. And I mean, his health was an issue, but his performance, I don't think, was at all affected by the fact that he was sometimes pitching in the seventh versus the eighth and even occasionally the ninth inning. So I think the way Estevez pitched had a multiplier effect in that it really did deepen the bullpen, but kind of pushed guys into roles that they were able to handle in the middle innings. It has to be considered a successful free agent signing.
It was huge, and he didn't have the overwhelming strikeouts that you'd think of the modern day reliever, but they also didn't get a lot of hits, 48 hits in 66 innings. I mean, there for a while when he blows save, everybody kind of lose their mind, but he was really good. I mean, nobody nails them all down, and so I love your point there at the end. I was going to make it as well that he allowed everything else. He took a lot of pressure off everybody else. If you'd had to have closed here and there with Daniel Lynch I mean, you wouldn't have. You'd have Lucas Hursak probably just in the back more. But if Angel Zerpa or Schreiber were called upon more in the ninth inning, I think he could have really gotten away from this team. So he took a lot of the pressure. And when he did have a mistake, he didn't wilt. That's the thing that I always liked, is he didn't get into some slump where he blew like 3-4 in a row. If he blew a save, he came back and he was the same Carlos Estevez, which was usually good enough to get it done. So, yeah. Not the biggest disappointment by any stretch of the imagination at all. So congratulations for, I think he got the better of me on that section of things.
Well, the night is still young, Soren.
Yes, we have more. We have more to uncover, which we will do here in a minute after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Your favorites are back, Kansas City, now for a limited time at all your Kansas City Whataburger locations. The Bacon Wrangler Double, 2 large beef patties, American Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, fried onion strings, pickles, and chipotle aioli sauce. Or how about the sweet and spicy bacon burger? 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and topped with sweet and spicy pepper sauce. Or grab the patty melt or even the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're all perfect with the Whataburger Dr. Pepper Blackberry Shake. Remember, Whataburger is open 24 hours a day with breakfast served from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And don't forget, you can get all your Whataburger favorites and more by downloading the Whataburger app with the QR code. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. I'll also throw out a little love for the Whataburger Party Box. Always a great option for your game day fare. All the fixings, all the trimmings, all the burgers you could possibly want. Check it out online at Whataburger. They're open 24 hours a day. All right, let's get next to what was the best position player not named Bobby Witt Jr. You stayed the course with?
You're going to make me say it. Michael Massey. Incorrect. I think
I went Vinny Pasquantino, and that was somewhat low-hanging fruit on my part, I will say. But I plucked it, as you did with Hunter Renfroe. Michael Massey was certainly a more daring prediction on your part. It did not come through.
It did not. No. And Vinny, very good pick. It was not the low. It was maybe the lowest hanging fruit. It turned out to be one more fruit above it, though, of course, which is Maikel Garcia. But Vinny is, after, and look, they're back in April, it wasn't clear who was a bigger disappointment, Michael Massey or Vinny Pasquantino. And for what Vinny did from May 1st on, is hella impressive, because he turned it from being one of the worst hitters in baseball as a first baseman in April to a very solid 2.5 win season, an OPS right around 800. I mean, he finished very strong. It was a good year for Vinny. He stayed healthy the entire year, 160 games played. The question is, to my mind, simply, is this the best Vinny will be, or does he still have another gear he can improve one more? Because if he can improve one more step up the ladder from here, that's now you're talking about an all-star first baseman.
I will say that Vinny just can be this, and let's get better in some other spots, would be my thought if I were JJ Piccolo. We don't need to go ask Vinny for any more than what he's doing. He puts enough pressure on himself, and he delivers very well. Let's get some other guys around him going, but he's impressive. And then Michael Massey, we've covered. So let's move on to our best pitcher not named Cole Reagans, because we really felt like Cole Reagans would be the dominant force, and I think he is when he's healthy. I went with Seth Lugo, which very low-hanging fruit, very chalky. You went with Chris Bubich. And Bubich got hurt, so it doesn't make this the triumph that it was looking like it was going to be. Had Bubich pitched all year, I'd really be bringing him. But he was the second best pitcher until he got hurt.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, it's interesting because Seth Lugo, you could argue if Seth Lugo basically went on the IL at the same time that Bubich did, like, they might have ended up with very similar overall numbers. Because, I mean, Lugo was distinctly below replacement value, in August before, the back finally told him you could no longer pitch. I mean, he gave up 28 runs in 27 innings in August, right? Through the end of July, and technically he started to struggle coming out of the All-Star break, but through the end of July, Lugo had 118 innings and a 3.03 ERA. Bubic finished with 116 innings and a 2.55 ERA. So
Bubic would have still won.
He still would have won, but it would have been close. The point being is, is there more value in continuing to pitch hurt in August or not pitching at all? Given how bad Lugo pitched, I would argue it would have been better if he had not pitched at all, let alone, any, potential long-term damage he did to his body. But regardless, Bubic was the better pick. He was the bolder pick, so I salute you for that.
Yeah, but by WAR, it was 3.1 for Bubic, 1.7 for Lugo. So, best reliever. Right?
We both went very chalky with this. We both picked Lucas Erceg.
And we were both wrong.
We were both wrong. I mean, he was...
Carlos Estevez, by WAR, was better.
By WAR, he was... I mean, by Baseball Reference, where he was over 2 WAR. 2 WAR is an impressive season for a reliever. It's hard to get to that point. If you use the Fangraphs WAR, which for relievers is probably more useful because it looks at, the elements of walks and homers and strikeouts. And when a guy throws 60 innings, sometimes the ERA can get out of whack. One bad inning where he gives up 6 runs can just completely destroy his ERA. So there it's closer, but it's still Carlos Estevez. He was closer to 1 WAR, but he was the best reliever on the team. I mean, that's you want to talk about like was that a good signing or not? Carlos Estevez, I fully expected him to be the closer all season and maybe save 30 games. I did not expect him to actually be the best reliever on the team, and he was. But Erceg was very good, especially given that his velocity was down a little bit, and he was probably pitching through a bulky shoulder for at least the last 2 months of the season. He just wasn't dominant like he was in 2024.
Biggest impact rookie. You went Jack Caglione. I went Noah Cameron.
Well, I'll say this: Caglione definitely had a big impact, just maybe not the way we wanted it to go.
More of a social media impact than it was an actual.
Well, more. He was like so bad he was below replacement level, and like if he had just been not even average, just like okay, the impact that would have made. Like he had an impact in terms of hurting the Royals in the pennant race, and job number 1 for the Royals, if you ask me, between now and spring training, is getting Jack Caglione right. Because, look, I'm more optimistic about his long-term future than I was in March. Because in March, I did not know could he dominate the minor leagues the way he did, and he did. And I'm sorry, but I refuse to believe that 200 major league at bats defines this kid, who's still 22 years old. But it was not a good year. Not even an average, not even a replacement level rookie season for him. Whereas Noah Cameron was fantastic. Better than we could have ever, hoped for. And even if this turns out to be the best season of his career, I expect that he will be in the major leagues in some capacity, probably for a good 10 years or so.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Biggest or top prospect at the end of the year. You went Carter Jensen. I went Jack Caglione. You got that one right. I think right now Carter Jensen, because of the struggles of Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen would seem to be the better prospect.
It's a really good question because, of course, Caglione it's an easy choice to make. Caglione's prospect status is no longer there because he's no longer rookie eligible, right? So you will not be seeing Jack Caglione on prospect rankings. If he were still rookie eligible,
it'd be tough.
Who would rank higher? I suspect it would still be Caglione.
I think he probably would, but it would be based upon it'd be based upon people not giving up on what their original estimation was.
I agree but not just for him, but I think on Carter Jensen in the sense that I think Jensen has elevated his prospect status significantly here in the last couple of months. I still feel like a lot of people are still they've not updated their priors enough. I don't think people have fully come around to the idea that Carter Jensen is like an elite catching prospect at this point in his career. So I think Caglione might rank higher, but I'm glad we picked both of these guys. Your argument was basically Caglione would not spend, a lot of time in the major leagues. And you might have been right that he shouldn't have. So, but I was boldly predicting Carter Jensen as the top prospect coming into the season. And I feel really good about that.
But I think, as we look at right now, Jack Caglione's question marks in the minor leagues have been greatly magnified in the big leagues. And, his ability to recognize pitches and lay off certain ones. I mean, there are times that his at-bats look easy for the opposing pitcher. And Carter Jensen, meanwhile, has seemingly fixed any and all issues he's had. And, I think looks the real part as the hitter. The one ding on Carter Jensen is that they kept catching Luke Maile over him. I mean, now we may look back years from now after he's won a couple of Gold Gloves or something like that and be like, what was this foolishness? But, it's that to me is the thing that jumps out. The only thing that jumps out as being a negative, and I'm not really concerned about it, but that's the only thing that's there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was really just the fear of like letting an untested rookie, play behind the plate, the mythical power of the catcher in a playoff race. Because once the Royals were essentially eliminated, they started playing him a lot more behind the plate. And, I mean, he started three of the four last games of the season as catcher at Carter Jensen. So I think they're definitely sending a message for the future that Carter Jensen is a catcher. I'm not certain he will stay a catcher. MJ Melendez was still catching at this point in his career, but I feel good about not just what I've seen from him, but about the Royals' evaluation of Carter Jensen as, entrusting him to their pitching staff the way they've done with Salvador Perez for so many years and for Freddie Fermin before him. I'm pretty optimistic that they will not carry a third catcher. Like they will not need to carry a Luke Maile next year. If they were willing to get by with Salvi and Freddie Fermin for the better part of 3 seasons, I think that they will be more than willing to go with Salvador Perez and Carter Jensen as their 2 catchers. Even if both of them are in the lineup, that's that opens up a roster spot that you can use on something else.
Let's talk about what the key storyline of the season would be. You said, where does Garcia and India play and how does that impact everyone else? I said minor league development continues to improve. Royals get production from within to handle inevitable injuries as well as create prospects for the front office to use in trades. How'd we do?
This is a very broad category and you could be lots of right answers. I think we were both partially correct. I think the most correct answer would have been the key storyline of the season is, why can't this team hit?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, that's ultimately what it came down to, because that's really the reason we're sitting here today lamenting the end of the season and not the start of the postseason is because of that. But having said that, I think there's truth in both of what we predicted. I mean, when I said, essentially Garcia and India are the fulcrum, figuring out where they play will determine everything else. It's interesting in that in the case of Michael Garcia, that was resolved fairly quickly and in the best possible way. He proved himself to be an everyday player and a really good defensive third baseman. And by the end of April, essentially, that was a very simple solution, which is great because, Jonathan India, maybe Jonathan India could have handled third, but he couldn't really handle left field at all. And, he's been fighting second base to a draw for most of his career. But I think that his ability, his inability to settle on one position did end up impacting all the players around him, because it was like, well, what do you do with Michael Massey now? He's not hitting. Should he be just playing second base all the time, or should he play left field? Do we need to get a corner outfielder because neither of these guys can play? Like, it had lots of downstream impacts, none of them good. And that may continue to be an issue going into the offseason, is what do you do with Jonathan India? So you started with 2 question marks. We have 1 resounding exclamation point and 1 double question mark now, 6 months later.
Yeah. I think what they do with him is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be one of the things we kind of, because I think everything's on the table, don't you?
Yeah.
Including walking away.
Yeah, he could very well be released. They could, I keep him and make him, a full-time second baseman. They could try him again in the outfield. They could just say, screw it, just make him the DH. They could make him a super utility guy. Like, there's a lot of different ways this can go. And I'm not confident that I know what the right answer is. So there's a lot of different solutions here, but none of them are great.
On my side of things, I mean, I will say that Noah Cameron coming up and being an answer for them, really pitching, always being there.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that we'll get to, like, some stuff later, but I do think they did a pretty good job, but it was not, I mean, clearly the inability to hit was the story of the season. And real quick, before we break and get to our bold and daring predictions, our record that we had for the Royals, 88 and 74.
Well, we were equally wrong.
Yeah.
And wrong, but look, like, that's not a terrible prediction.
No.
7 to 8, 6 or 7 wins off is actually, I mean, not only is that very common if you're at all in the predicting teams' baseball records at the beginning of the season business, like it's 6 to 7 wins off is not bad at all. But I mean, I've made this case before, but statistically speaking, if you take a perfectly weighted normal coin and flip it 162 times, on average, you will get 81 heads, 81 tails. But the standard deviation of 162 coin flips is a little over 6. Meaning there's about a 1 in 3 chance you will have either 87 or more coin flips go heads or 75 or fewer. Like, natural, even if we nailed exactly what this team was, there, statistically speaking, it's very common to be off by 6 or 7 wins.
Well, and I have the theory that, if we could say a team, if you could accurately say this team is a 90-win team, that I think if everything goes its way, it can play 10 games above that. And everything goes wrong, it can play 20. And I might even take that down, but it can play 20 below it. What is this team? What was it? If it had, if you nailed the number, like, to me, it's a team. Last year's club that won 86 was probably, I would say, about a 78 to 80 win team that played up. And everything went its way, like one being completely healthy on the pitching side.
If you're gonna include health as a variable, then maybe. I mean, the team on the field in 2024 that won 86 games, that team was legitimately 86, if not better, because, like, their run differential, et cetera, like, that was a quality team. But that's because, like you said, everybody stayed healthy, and that team didn't have the depth in the minor leagues that even this team had. They didn't have Noah Cameron wasn't ready to come up last year, et cetera. But this year's team, I feel like, I mean, they finished right around 500. They had a run differential that was just about even. I think I think they ended up right where they belong. I mean, it makes it easy in the sense that the pitching was so good and the hitting was so bad. It's hard for me to see, the pitching was too good for them to be more than to win fewer than 75 games. And I think the hitting was too bad to win more than about 85 games. Yeah,
I think I'm fine with that. I'm not going to argue real vociferously, but I think they underachieved a little. Underachieved means I think they played down. Let me put that. I think the injuries dragged them down. I think if Cole Reagans and Bubic, and Lugo isn't battling obviously a back and whatnot, then I think this was a team that was better than a 500-ish team. And so
what's interesting is what we're both kind of saying is that this team on paper was not that much worse than last year's team. In fact, they might have been equally good. Last year's team just had better health than this year. I think I'm arguing that this team was a little bit worse because the hitting was so bad. But of course, I mean, the argument you can make for last year's team not being that good is that they did hit so well with runners in scoring position, and that is not replicable. That was kind of fluky. This year, everyone talks about people act like this year's team was bad with runners in scoring position, but it wasn't bad. It just wasn't above what it normally does, whereas last year it was. So they hit just as well with runners in scoring position as they did without. So yeah, maybe they took a step back, but a very small one. And that's something worth recognizing, that maybe they were a little bit ahead of their skis last year. So maybe this year isn't quite as disappointing as, the win-loss record would have you believe.
All right. We want to get to our bold and daring predictions. Those are always fun because we actually try to be both bold and daring. We'll do that after you hear from our friends at Whataburger. Your favorites are back, Kansas City, now for a limited time at all your Kansas City Whataburger locations. The Bacon Wrangler Double, 2 large beef patties, American Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, fried onion strings, pickles, and chipotle aioli sauce. Or how about the sweet and spicy bacon burger? 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and topped with sweet and spicy pepper sauce. Or grab the patty melt or even the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're all perfect with the Whataburger Dr. Pepper Blackberry Shake. Remember, Whataburger is open 24 hours a day with breakfast served from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And don't forget, you can get all your Whataburger favorites and more by downloading the Whataburger app with the QR code. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. All right, Rany, you want to alternate here on how we did? Okay.
One by one.
I'll give you the honors.
Okay, my first bold and daring prediction, number 5, because we did rank these, I think, from 5 to 1 when we made them. So my least bold and daring of the 5.
I don't remember that, but okay.
Yeah.
I think that probably just makes you makes your list look better. I don't know.
I have no idea. Maybe I think that maybe I ranked mine and you didn't rank yours.
Okay,
never mind. We'll go in the order you've got them written down on the spreadsheet.
Okay.
So a pitcher in the Royals system will emerge as a consensus top 100 prospect. I will say it's funny we start with this because of all the predictions I think on this list, this is the one that I'm actually not sure about the answer to at this point.
Yeah, is Shields, Churio.
Right, Shields and Churio. I mean, so the answer is maybe, right? Like consensus, like a guy who's going to appear on every single top 100 prospect list, probably not. But I think there will be at least one top prospect list that has David Shields on it, and some of the less mainstream ones that are still respectable. Some of those go really hard on the projectable prospects, the really high upside guys, and you'll see those filled a lot of like 16, well, not maybe not 16, but like 17, 18-year-old kids from Latin America. I am confident Kendry Churio will show up on some top 100 prospect lists. And I'm happy about that in the sense that my thought process simply was you never know when a young pitching prospect will emerge, and that the Royals had taken enough guys with high draft capital in the last couple of years that inevitably one of them would. And it's not surprising that it's the one guy that Brian Bridges took, which was David Shields, their second round pick, who really took a step forward. He had a 2.01 ERA in the Carolina League this year. I have to laugh because the Royals, their minor league Twitter account did put out a tweet with the pictures of the last 2 18-year-old pitchers to be named Carolina League Pitcher of the Year, because David Shields was named Carolina League Pitcher of the Year. The last Carolina League Pitcher of the Year to be 18 years old was Dwight Gooden. And if you're thinking, wait a minute, well, there's a little misinformation there, because until about 5 years ago, the Carolina League was a high A minor league, not a low A minor league. And the difference between an 18-year-old and low A and an 18-year-old and a high A is substantial. Of course, Dwight Gooden, as I'm sure you and I are old enough to remember, is not just one of the all-time great major league pitchers, but as an 18-year-old, he struck out 300 batters in the Carolina League. And the following year, he was in the rotation for the Mets, like in April. David Shields is not that good, but he's good. The last 18-year-old with a lower ERA in a full season league in I think at least 60 innings or so, because he hit through 75 innings. I need to put out a trigger warning here. So anybody who's got a sensitivity to the 2014 Royals, turn away. The last 18-year-old pitcher who had a lower ERA in a full season league was Madison Bumgarner. So and it's actually not a terrible comp because Bumgarner was never a high velocity guy.
Yeah.
He knew how to pitch so well. And that's what we saw from David Shields this year. And then Kendry Churio, man, I mean, he's only 17. He was matching David Shields pitch for pitch after he got called up to A ball. He kind of tired down the stretch. He didn't pitch as well as last start, I think, in the playoffs. But again, 17 years old. I almost rather have two guys like that than one guy who's consensus top 100. I think that I'm gonna give myself a borderline pass on that one.
I think you got there. I had Chris Bubich as a top 2 starter for the Royals this year. I'll take it.
A+. I mean, I was mad at the time because I'm like, damn, that's a really good. Like, it's not that I disagreed with you at the time. I'm like, I just hadn't thought to be. I had him as my breakout pitcher, but like that was bold and daring, and he was number 2.
Yeah.
And the hilarious thing is, number 1 was Noah Cameron. If you had that on your list,
then we would have nailed it.
People would be constructing idols out of your portly physique right now. So, but Chris Bubich as a top 2 starter, that you can't do better. That's what this is all about.
All right, number 2 for you.
I'm happy about this one, but man, I should have been more bold and more daring. I was tepid. Maikel Garcia will take a significant step forward with an OPS plus over
90.
Drum roll, please. 90. Yeah. Way to be bold and daring there, Rany. Yeah, I'm very happy about the general theme of that. Maikel Garcia absolutely took a significant step forward, but an OPS of 90, I was really
just barely got there though. 122.
Yeah, 122. I mean, he was a top 5 player in the American League, arguably. Like, that is phenomenal. It's a shame that didn't lead to a playoff spot, but like he was exactly what I thought, which is that if he gets 5% better basically in every facet of his game, he's given one position, allowed to just focus on it. He's young, the power has emerged. He's got the skill set to be an above average player, and that's exactly what he was.
Yeah, after a disappointing year last year, you went all in on him, and he delivered. I think that's great. All right, my next one, Jonathan India, and this is good that these line up to where we can kind of hit on the same thing because we kind of had the same idea. Jonathan India will have the 28th season in Royals history with 100 runs scored, and will be the 8th player in Royals history with 110 runs. I really thought this leadoff thing was going to work. He was going to be the answer. He was going to have a 350 on base. They were going to hit. He scored 63 runs. This is an epic fail.
Soren, I don't know how you could possibly have had a bigger failure. The only way you could have had a bigger failure is if you had Jonathan India will become the 5th Royals player to score 115 runs in a season.
Which is what you had.
Yes.
Yes.
It turned into one of those like auctions where like you make a bid and then immediately, realize you got caught up in the emotion of the moment, and you go home with like a painting that nobody wants, that like you paid $7,000 for or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, I won the auction and I lost the auction.
Yeah. It didn't work out. All right. My next one, Chris Bubich sets the Royals walks per 9 record. Excuse me. Doug Bird holds that mark at 1.411. Right. He did it in 1982. Chris Bubich was 3-0. He did not.
Doug Bird still holds that record. I mean, it was definitely a bold prediction in the sense of where you thought the source of Bubich's success would be.
Well, and it speaks to he was different. I thought he was just going to be a control freak,
right? Exactly,
and he ended up having more power, more capability.
I mean, exactly. I mean, maybe he didn't come close to setting the record, but like the arc of his season is better than I think even you were hoping for, in the sense that he struck out a batter an inning. He was actually only 6 homers on 116 innings. That may or may not be repeatable, but like the strikeout rate, he was missing bats, and it's easy to confuse velocity with power. It's easy to confuse the ability to throw hard with the ability to miss bats. But I think Bubich, to a lesser extent, even Noah Cameron, but Bubich certainly has shown the ability to miss bats at a rate that's not commensurate with his velocity. He has a fastball that's difficult to see. He has an unusual motion, and he has unusual amount of ride on that fastball, which means he's able to quote unquote blow it by guys throwing at 92, 93 miles an hour. And that makes up for the fact they didn't have impeccable command. He had good command, but also was able to miss bats. So, you weren't right, but you were kind of right. So,
all right. Number 4 for you.
I like this one. I predicted the Royals bullpen will be a top 10 bullpen by ERA in the major leagues. And this was bold because let's not forget last year when the Royals went to the playoffs, the Royals relievers finished 20th in the major leagues in ERA. They had a 4.13 ERA. The league ERA, I should say this is 20th in the major. So major league ERA for relievers was 3.97. They were actually worse than average in the bullpen. But their starters were second in all of baseball with a 3.55 ERA. This year, the Royals starters were 7th. Still top 10, but they were 7th in the league with in the major leagues with a 3.82 ERA. The bullpen was 6th at 3.63. So yes, they were a top 10 bullpen, but they basically, the improvement in the bullpen, I guess I don't know, more than made up, but it definitely made up for a slight regression from the starting pitching staff. And I mean, this is the point where you just say, look, the Royals know pitching now, as well as the Royals have done really anything other than like steal bases and play outfield defense, I guess, in the last 30 years, maybe like that, the 2014, 2015 team, their ability to make contact, play defense and run. That's what made those teams elite. But in terms of like something as big as teach pitchers how to pitch, make pitchers better, after we're 2 consecutive years, it's hard to come to any other conclusion other than whatever the Royals are doing is working, and they should continue to do what they're doing and reward those coaches and those people who are responsible for making these pitchers better. Because I mean, you look at that bullpen, and like I mentioned, a lot of John Schreiber and Taylor Clark and Jonathan Bolin, and Angel Serpa was like, I think he led second, I guess, on the team. Him and John Schreiber had the first and second most appearances of any reliever, right? Daniel Lynch. That was a top 10 bullpen. Yeah, you had Carlos Estevez and Lucas Erceg, but I mean, this is not like, prime of career Dennis Eckersley or Mariano Rivera that these guys were, right? Like they had a good closer, not a great closer. They had a good setup man, not a great setup man, and a bunch of mismatched parts, and they were a top 10 bullpen in baseball. So I got that one, but all credit, Brian Sweeney and company, one more time, just going to compliment them.
Yeah, they did a great job. I had Matt Quatraro winning the manager of the year. He's not going to win that award, but I think he did a hell of a job without hitting and, keeping this team, really in the fight all the way to the final week of the season. I thought he did a fantastic job. So not going to win the award, but, with all the injuries he dealt with and bringing new guys in and making it work, I thought he did a great job.
We remain major Q fans on this show. That has no reason for that to change.
I agree. All right, and your final?
My final one. This is when I said I ranked it. This was my number one prediction, and this coming after a year where I predicted Cole Reagans to set the Royals record for strikeouts in a season, and he came very close. So I was feeling my oats a little bit. So my prediction was Jack Caglione will be in the lineup for the Royals' first postseason game in 2025. I did not get this right. I will say I got closer than a lot of people might have expected in the sense that
he probably would have been in the lineup
right. If he had played well. If he had played well enough. If he had played well, they might have made the playoffs, in which case he would have been in there. What I'm disappointed about isn't that he wasn't in the lineup for the Royals' first postseason game. He wasn't in the lineup for their last regular season game of 2025 or their next to last. Like they started John Reeve over Caglione in their last 2 games of the season. That to me, that Carter Jensen was in the lineup and Jack Caglione was not. And as recently as, mid-September, it would have been the other way around. So clearly they have some concerns about his development, and fixing him, figuring out where they went wrong as an organization for Caglione, to me, has to be their number one offseason priority, at least among the players that are already in the organization.
Yeah. My final one, Bobby Witt Jr. wins the MVP. This was based upon one. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is in the prime of his career, and I thought he would probably have a little bit of a regression, but my expectation was that Aaron Judge would get hurt. and be out and even fall off. That his age and his height, guys that tall don't usually play well late. So to me, and instead, he got hurt, but not hurt for long enough, and he did not get worse. He got better, and then out of nowhere, the big dumper came along. And
how dare you not project Cal Raleigh to hit 60 home runs? So I'm like, clear oversight on your part. I mean, what's impressive is, like you said, Bobby had some regression and was still, by statistically the third best player in the American League.
And I think what's exciting is, number one, like that is how you measure greatness, is how good is a guy when he's not at his best. And that was him. And I wonder how much the back kind of affected him and maybe robbed a little bit of his power. I mean,
he went into September. There was still with an outside chance. If he had replicated like his July of 2024 in September of 2025, and that had gotten the Royals to the postseason, we might be having a very different conversation right now. Like, there was still a path for him to win the MVP as late as like September 1st.
Yeah. I know, because I bet it like at the very end of August.
Did we talk about it
so long? Yeah.
So you didn't get this right, but you didn't really get it wrong either. I mean, he is the caliber of player now where a top 5 MVP finish is something you expect going into the season. Like, there's the early Mike Trout level where like you actually expect him to win every single year, and he's not at that where he was ripping off 10 win seasons. He's not quite at that level, but where he's at is basically the Mookie Betts level, where Mookie wasn't winning MVPs every year, but like consistent 8-win player. And sometimes Mookie was doing it because he had, he'd hit 30, 35 home runs. Sometimes he would do it because he was like a plus 20 defender in the outfield. Sometimes he would do it because he hit like 320. Like Mookie, Bobby Witt can hurt you in so many ways if you're the opponent, right? He does it all. So in any given season, he might. I mean, last year he led the league in hits. This year he led the league in doubles. I guess he's also going to lead the league in hits this year too. But like, he won the batting title last year. Like, he does so many different things that you don't know how he's going to get there, but by the end of the year, you figure he's going to be one of the 3 or 4 best players in the league, and he was.
Yeah, he was. Overall, I thought we did fine. I thought we did pretty good.
I give us a B.
Yeah, I thought we did pretty good. I'll take it. We'll be doing it again for next year. That's for sure. Remember, you can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors like Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warranty. If you own or manage a business and you have any kind of parking lot problems, whether that's building it from scratch or taking care of any of the problems that are going on, let Gann Asphalt and Concrete help you. They've been solving parking lot problems in Kansas City since 1994. One contractor, all things parking lot, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Online at GannAsphalt.com and by our friends at Whataburger, Kansas City's best. Did you know that Whataburger is open 24 hours? Yes, open 24 hours. So you never have to wait. You can get to the Whataburger and take advantage of the Bacon Wrangler Double, the sweet and spicy bacon burger, the Patty Melt, the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich, and of course the Dr. Pepper Blackberry Shake. Remember, they serve breakfast 11 to 11A. For the good doctor, Rany Jazayerli, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Coffee